You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And AK Mike back in Texas.
Yeah, you had a good trip home, I take it.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah, well, that's good news. We miss you already. It was fun having you here.
Well-
we appreciate
Well, I'll
it.
say I miss you too because the weather hasn't been that great since I left.
Well, the weather here has been a little rainy, but mostly sunny and very cool, unseasonably cool. It was 73 degrees the other day. We didn't know what to do with it.
Well, I feel bad for you. What about you, Jay?
Because normally it's in the 100. It's normally in
Yeah,
the 100s
I'm always feeling bad for AZ Mike, living in the desert,
Sure you are.
toughing it out.
Right. I am toughing it out. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I'm just surprised you don't get like air conditioner disease or something like that. Or
But he could be
Air
he could
conditioner
be in
disease.
Hawaii. I mean, think about it.
yeah, he goes to
That's
some
true.
really sucky places. I think every day,
Mhm.
boy,
Yeah,
Mike's
well,
toughing it
I
out.
know. I get no
Yeah,
sympathy.
I'm in Kona
That's fine.
today.
Exactly right.
I tripped on a macadamia nut. A macadamia nut came out of the sky, came out of the trees, and hit me in the head. Oh, they're all over the place.
I was mad it wasn't covered in chocolate.
But it still tasted good.
It was still good. It had a little salty flavor to it, sea salt.
There you go.
Well, let's see. Mike, first question out of the box. You've been home. Have you got to fly the fundraiser?
No. 'Cause
What?
The weather's been terrible.
What?
The weather's been terrible. It's been raining.
Okay.
Just because there's been a
thunderstorms.
few tornadoes up there in Dallas area.
Yeah.
I don't.
You big
It's
wimp.
been nasty.
What a complainer.
You big
would have been
wimp.
flying out in Alaska. You would have been flying in weather
know.
like that.
No, I would not have. I may have flown when it was cold and
Yeah.
not windy. I may have done that. I may have gone
But
flying
not
later
in
at
tornadoes?
night when the sun was going down at 9 or 10 o'clock in the summer when it was still 70 degrees out. I may have done that. Or maybe even 50. I would have done that because I could wear a coat and gloves. But the wind,
there you go.
there's a lot more wind here than there, really.
Well, wind makes you a better pilot, I think.
No question I'm going to be a good pilot when I'm done living here.
Yes, I agree. So, well, that's kind of a bummer. We had our last two podcasts, actually. We're talking about your fun racer. And I think 2 episodes ago it came out. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to it or you're just now catching up with us, make sure you jump on our Park Flyer Podcast listeners group page. If you're not a member, just send us a note and we'll help you join. And then comment on Mike's airplane. We have a few comments on there already, and we sure appreciate it. We're looking to see what everyone thinks. So
But-
you happen to have gotten a little gift in between that
I
time.
did.
So
Yeah,
why don't you
I
elaborate
sure
a little
did.
bit on that?
Well, the good news is we, talked about Mike's little, fundraiser that showed he brought out, and right after he left, we had our birthdays. So right after he left, I got a big box in the mail, and Mike's gift to me was a fundraiser. So it was pretty exciting because now I have one. Right, I pulled it out of the box,
And it was the day he left, right?
No, it was a couple days later.
Are you sure? Because I could have sworn like you dropped his butt off at the airport, drove back home, and it was sitting there when you got back. Or
That might have
something
been
like
the
that.
next day.
I think it was the next day
okay.
because he was already home, I think. Or maybe I
I was already home when you
Maybe
told me, but
yeah, so you were
it
already
was the
went on
next
to
day,
it.
I think.
Now the whole
Yeah, I think so, too.
Mike, you gifting Mike almost got discombobulated or whatever. There was a monkey wrench thrown in it because you were trying to plan a surprise, and of course AZ Mike being a plus AA person, and kind of a spontaneous guy and one of those shoppers that those companies just love. Almost got him in trouble or messed up your whole surprise. What all happened with that?
So, Mike and I were taken out to dinner by his wife, And
That's true.
And we were sitting there chatting a little bit, and he was telling me about how he was on the podcast or was working on something. I can't remember why he was on the computer, but he had queued up some stuff in his cart, but he didn't say what it was. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so we were talking at dinner and about certain things, and his wife mentioned something about him buying stuff. We got to talking about RC stuff. I don't know why. And
Yeah, go figure.
yeah, I mean,
that's a
it doesn't
big
make any
topic
sense,
of
really.
everything.
You
But-
guys have nothing in common.
It was our birthday dinner. We were talking
Except for the
about
birthday,
this
yeah.
stuff. I mean,
and
RC
so
stuff.
Mike said, "Oh yeah, in fact, I had the fundraiser in my cart. That's what I've been talking about." I said, "You had the fundraiser in your cart?" He goes, "Yeah. I think when I get home, I think Arlie's she's fine with it, so I'm gonna go ahead and fire away." I said, "Well, you shouldn't do that." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well,
That plane sucks.
it's not a really good idea.
Yeah.
Is all. I just don't think you should do that." And he's like, "No, I'm just gonna. It's right in my cart. It's ready to go. I'm just gonna hit buy." And I was like, "No, don't." I was like, I had to be really firm with him. And he goes, "What? You get me one?"
He was so cryptic. Oh, I wouldn't do that, he says.
I was like,
yeah, don't do that.
I was like,
and I'm all like,
I tried
what the
I
heck?
did everything I could do to get him to, go another course, but he was already committed really in his mind. He just hadn't pressed the button. Luckily for me, because I had pressed the button before we left for dinner. In fact, I was ranking it up, and he was
Right.
like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm looking at some parts for the prop spinner or something like that because I damaged my spinner. I was like, I'm looking for one, and I was like quickly clicking all the buttons so I could buy the damn thing and try to get it into the mail before he got over to the screen to take a look at it. Luckily I was sitting in a way that was a little harder for him to see. He
Yeah,
might
it
have seen
was.
it if I wasn't blocking the window behind me. 'Cause,
There you go.
anyway,
Well, the funny part about it was that I had actually queued it all up the day we flew it, because I had so much fun flying that thing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great replacement for the flying wing, because they don't make the tough wing anymore. And so I thought, wow, this was really fun to fly. It's a good park flyer. It's fast, covers a lot of real estate. It looked really good. I was all excited. So I came home and I looked it up, and sure enough, they had it on sale still. And so I put it all in my cart, got everything. I even put a couple extra spinners in there, but just in case, you never know what happens. And so that's when Jay said, "Oh, well, didn't you get it for cheaper?" So I was like, I didn't hit the button yet, because I'm like, ooh, cheaper. Wait, what are y'all talking about? Maybe I'm on the wrong website, because you were saying you got it for
and I
less
did.
money.
I
than
got
what
it
was
for
gonna
like
buy.
$30 cheaper. So I
Right,
paid
right.
$30 more for yours than I paid for mine. But luckily,
Well, I
Jay said
appreciate
that
that.
stuff, because otherwise
Yes,
you would have
'cause
had
I would
two
have just
boxes
clicked the
showing
button
up,
right
and I
away.
guess we would have just had to give the other one to Jay, I guess. So in a
Damn
way,
it.
you
Yeah.
kind of screwed yourself, Jay.
You did. You kind of screwed yourself,
man, I
Jay.
screwed that up.
Yeah. So but the funny thing is
Yeah.
I was going to buy it before I left and send it down to Mike, but I really wasn't sure he was going to like it, and he didn't really seem too keen on it at the Electric Fest as well. I mean, it just wasn't something he was thinking about much, because for whatever reason. And so
He
I
was the
didn't
same
buy
way
one.
with the wing. With the wing, he
What's
was
that?
exactly the same way. I had to
Is that
buy
right?
him one, or else he
Yeah.
never would have bought a wing. He would never have.
Well, in this case, he would have,
wouldn't
though,
had a
right?
wing.
In this case, he definitely would have. And the thing
Yeah,
was, is
I
that
d- I
after he
would've done.
flew it the first time, I was like, oh crap, I got to get him one. And so I was thinking about that for the next day or so or whatever, to get on the computer and buy him one. And then all that stuff happened. And I was like, oh my god, this is
Yeah,
too much.
and AZ Mike, he also texted me, and he said, whatever you do, don't let Mike buy one of these things. And I didn't text him back, because I immediately thought, how am I going to stop this raving lunatic,
Right.
who calls me up at 2:00 in the morning? You know what I just think I bought? Get away from the computer, Mike. Stop buying things on Amazon. So
I just think I bought. I'm not sure, but I think
it was
I
just
bought.
funny how you were like, hey, whatever
I've
you
done
do,
that before, actually.
don't let him buy this plane. I'm going to get it for him for his birthday, and as a thank you for being here for the week. And I was like, oh,
Right.
okay, I'll try my best. I think that's what I replied back to you. And then it was like a day later, hey, he told me he was getting one. I had to tell him I got it for him. I just started laughing about the whole affair.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was bad.
Well, the funny part was that it didn't even cross my mind actually when Mike said that. He looked at me really, just dry pan and said, "Don't do that." And I was like, the first thing that kind of rolled through my mind was, okay, he did get it cheaper then. I got to find out where he got it cheaper because that's the reason I didn't buy it in the first place because Jay was like, "Oh, it's so much cheaper." So then I'm like, oh, well, I wonder when they're going to have the sale, or I wonder where he got it, and I have to ask him that. But, and so then I'm like, why? Did you buy me one? That was just a comment off the cuff.
Random
it wasn't
comment.
Really
but I had to say yes.
Yeah.
I had to say yes, though,
really,
because you were going to go.
Well,
I felt like at that point you were loving it so much. He put that 4-cell in there. And after he flew it with the 4-cell, he was like, oh my gosh, Mike, that thing flew so well. I really enjoyed that. It was like, I was having a great time. I really wish we had a couple more 4-cells because I think we only found one or two. We couldn't.
Yeah, we had two.
Yeah, we only had two. And it's like, I really want to fly that thing. And I was like, yeah, dude, you should have a good time with this. This is fun, I'm glad you're having a good time. It was great. So that was fun.
Well, I will tell you that at the Electric Festival, I was being pulled in so many different directions because I was having to do, double duty since Jay wasn't there. And so I was headed on, every different direction and the other guys had me flying their airplanes and making them stuff. So honestly, Mike, I didn't really get a chance to go out and participate in the Fun Racer event, because they went out there and flew them. But I was behind the scenes doing some other stuff. And I think actually Spencer and I were doing a podcast, some stuff or interviewing or whatever. So I wasn't there. I saw the fundraiser and Mike was talking about it. Oh, I got to get one of these. These are so awesome. But I really didn't see it fly. I didn't, I wasn't participating with those guys at the time to see all of their new wares. I talked to them, but they were so busy too. They didn't have a chance to come down and interview with us. But, there was other things that I was doing. So I really, it wasn't like I didn't, not want one or didn't know anything. I just didn't know anything about it. And Mike talked about, this thing is so great. And I'm like, okay, it's a multiplex. It's a good airplane because I own a multiplex. Jay's owned multiplex.
Sure have.
So it wasn't until he brought it and we started painting it and doing all this really cool stuff. And then we actually went out and flew it. And, the maiden went well. Once I got it all set up, that thing was just like on rails. And I was like, okay, I can see that if I took this and my wing, I got to do some repairs on my wing. But if I do those repairs on my wing and take these two things out, that would just be a full day of flying fast movers. And I thought, wow, that was really fun. So
it's almost too big for your park,
don't
Mike.
do that. What's that? It's almost too fast.
Yeah, too big for your park. Yeah.
Not really too big, but it's just too fast.
Yeah,
it's pretty fast.
Yep.
You don't. I actually.
We spent a lot of time turning.
Yes, we did spend covering a lot of real estate. But I will. I won't spoil the podcast here, but I will tell you that I have flown into the park several times now and gotten mine dialed in, and so now I don't use up as much real estate. I can, but I don't. I think the reason we used up so much real estate when we were doing yours is because of the maidens.
Yeah.
We were trying to tweak everything and get it. I needed it to go in a straight line.
Yeah.
And I needed it to go as fast as it could so I could see if it pitched up or, rolled or anything. So, but anyway, enough said of that. I now own one, or it came in the mail, and it was in the same condition. It was all white. So it was my turn to try to come up with my own paint scheme. So,
how did yours differ?
So mine differed in colors and a little bit, and it differed in some of the things that Mike and I talked about that we would have done better, which, hopefully everybody's kind of put in their comments in there, so we could probably talk about what we could have done better on this podcast. But I did those. So, and they were small things, they weren't like major deals, but they were just smaller things.
I'd call them continuity changes.
That's a very good way to put it. Yeah, continuity changes. So they were little things like from when Mike and I looked at it, his paint scheme on the nose kind of makes a V, and mine does as well, but his comes down short of the wing color.
Right.
Mine actually comes down all the way to the to the back of the wing color. So it matches a little bit more in line with the wing from the wing up to the fuselage as opposed to just, having
Right,
a little
right.
bit
So
of
the
touch.
paint line of the wing actually goes up on the fuselage and then around
Correct.
it. As opposed to mine,
is
which sort of
correct.
stops at the bottom of the fuselage and then starts on the wing
Right.
and moves along. So it's just,
Oh,
it just
okay.
has more
Correct.
continuous flow from a coloring standpoint on the wing section.
Now another
And
thing.
then the tail we did exactly the same thing. We did a diagonal from across the body, where on Mike's we just painted the upper portion of the tail.
Now in your tail, you also did a different technique on the tail as well, right? Not so it wasn't just one
I
solid
did,
color.
yeah. I did not pick. Yes. So I didn't want mine to look exactly like Mike's, which is fair, right? If we're both flying them together, you want them to look just slightly different.
Sure, of course.
However, it is a fun racer, and so I wanted it to look race, kind of race ready. The sticker kit that they give you is the same, so I have the same numbers and the same little, stripes and things that are available to me. But I wanted it a little bit different color, and so I knew I wanted something that was sporty, and a little bit different than what you would normally see. So having said all that, I was trying really hard to pick colors, and unfortunately, Mike used up 3 of the 4 available colors for the fluorescent colors. I could have swapped them around, and I could have put purple on the front and green on the bottom, that kind of thing. But like I said, I didn't want to be exactly like it, and I really, really like Mike's. I like the color choices. I like that orange. It really stands out. So I was trying to think of something that wasn't quite orange, but wasn't too far off the beaten path from this. So I was trying to think of a color, and I don't know why I thought of this, but I picked a copper color, like a penny. It's a penny color. Unfortunately, it didn't come out quite as coppery on this particular foam. I think once again I had the same issue as Mike. I painted the color, and the plastic piece underneath is much darker, I think, than the light.
So are you saying then probably that if you had to do it over again, then would you have maybe put a what do you call that when you pre-spray the plane?
Primer.
A primer?
A primer. Thank you.
No.
That wouldn't have helped?
I don't think the primer would have made that much difference. And having said all that, I did have to do a base coat for my effect on this particular plane. So I could have done, all white, but I liked what Mike did with the foam white, so I left it kind of like that. And it was a little bit quicker to paint that way. But because I just finished painting Mike's a few days before, it was, all my stuff was still out, and it was very easy to do. I just took my tape and it is a Tamiya paint tape. You can buy it from the Tamiya website. And it's just a stretchable, they don't really call it anything other than painter's tape, but it does have a stretchable to it, and I can make, lines and curvatures and stuff. So I decided on a copper color, and then on the tail, so the nose and the wings are this copper color, and then on the tail I wanted to, once again, having my thought process of, trying to include one to the other, I thought, well, I should paint the tail copper as well, but I liked the green color that Mike had picked as, I liked it too. It was kind of that, you could see it. So I wanted something that I could see in the air that was vibrant, and I don't know why. I was standing at the paint counter, and I realized that they have a paint shift that goes from green to copper.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
my tail is actually a paint shifting. So if it's going one way, it's green. If it's going the other way, it turns copper. Now, unfortunately, because of the base coat, it turns the same color copper as a penny, which is what my effect was trying to do with the front of it. Now that I've done it, what I did, I would have laid down a darker base coat before I put the copper color on there, and that may have helped. So the tail really looks, that color shift. And I know you guys have probably seen the cars that look purple and one as they go by, it shifts to green. So mine does that. And so those are the two colors. I went ahead and used the sticker kit for the stripes. I didn't use them the way that they were intended. I actually cut them and used them as a break between the two colors, and I outlined all my colors. So I'll post the picture so you can see it on the Park Flyer podcast listeners group, and then you can kind of make comments about mine as well. And then the bottom, I couldn't really figure out what to do, but I liked the fact that Mike's was really, you could see that green, that real vibrant green, and it was close enough to the yellow, that fluorescent yellow, and I had some that I decided to do that on the bottom. So it does have a fluorescent yellow bottom stripes. However, my stripes are a little bit different because I used that frog tape that you were talking about last podcast, and I put it together and made kind of a diamond shape. So it looks like on the tail it has diamonds, and then on the wings it has the same, similar to Mike's, but it's in a chevron shape as opposed to just straight lines. Right. Which I personally, Mike, I don't think Jay likes. Well.
I like the one on the tail. I didn't like the one on the wing as much, but that was like the only thing that didn't really click for me. But hey, it's not my plane either, so
Well, I will tell you that as it goes by at 100 miles an hour, it's very easy to see.
The yellow now you can see that
it's
yellow.
Very bright.
It pops. The yellow itself pops. I just don't like the pattern. For it.
Right.
I think if you're going to do a diamond pattern for that, you could have done, maybe I would have liked it smaller, but I understand what you're talking about, and time, it takes time. So, you did what you did.
Yeah, I did the smaller, the tail section.
Man, dude, I have so many projects. Believe me, I thought after you two got
okay. Honestly though, Jay, this only took me probably 25 minutes to put together. It took me longer.
I know, lay out the tape
to mask off the thing and get it painted than it did to put it together. It's ready to go. I mean, there's no adjustment.
No. I just, believe me, I actually don't have a fun racer, but I have a pattern plane that is halfway finished, and it's sitting in one of my boxes that I just had never put together, finished putting together.
Yeah,
so
you do have a lot of projects.
I got a lot of things I got to do. And speaking of this, I just got a new project that I'm going to be working on, and that is my little 5x8 trailer that I'm towing behind my car since the truck died. Yeah. Well, you say that, but seems like fun. But I have a wiring problem, and that's just driving me crazy. So.
Yeah,
because there's one.
Well, it was fun. I will tell you really quick about the Maiden.
Sure.
Once I got Mike to comfortable with launching it and everything, I charged up about 6 of my 3-cell batteries, and I have 2 of the 4-cell batteries. And so I ran out to the park. The weather was beautiful. There was no wind. It just was a blue sky day. It was a Monday, I think. And I ran over there, had it all set up, ready to go. And I will admit that I did put a Demon Cortex in it. So
that's a little overkill for that little plane.
It was a major overkill for that. But, I know how my other airplanes feel. And I wanted this one to fly on a 4-cell. And Mike's, with the lemon on the 4-cell, had a little bit shaky, wouldn't you say, Mike?
A little bit of squirrel, I'd say. A little bit of squirrel.
So it was. The faster it got, it was hard for that lemon to kind of keep up with it. On the 3-cell, no problem. 4-cell, it started kind of moving back and forth. So, I mean, there's an adjustment to that, but it's mostly, just kind of tweaking it, flying it. And Mike wasn't really going to use a 4-cell anyway, so we weren't too worried about it. Right. But I was. So, anyway, I had an extra Demon Cortex rolling around. Sitting on my shelf, and so I threw it in there, and I can use that as the receiver.
Right.
It's so I don't have to have a receiver. It's like just I have 2 satellites, Spectrum satellites, and then it works. So I basically kind of stole the settings from the L39 because it's a fast mover too, right?
Yeah.
100 mile an hour jet. And so I thought, well, that's pretty good. I like the way that thing flies. And so if I can get it to match. And so I basically put it in there, put all the mixes and everything that were already set from Mike's airplane. And then I went out and tossed it in the air. I did an underhand toss just to kind of get started, and the thing took off, and I tweaked it up, started adding all the mixes. The airplane flew beautifully and flipped on the gyro, and the airplane felt a little twitchy because I had the gyro turned all the way down. And so then I just started milking the gyro up to where it felt comfortable, and it felt more like it was flying on rails. And when you turn the Demon up, it starts getting, more, how do I put this? It gets heavier on the controls, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if you pull back on the stick.
It's more sluggish about.
Not really sluggish, but it's more, it's not as.
Resistant, maybe?
It is a little bit more resistant because your gyro is kind of fighting you a little bit, but it's not really. It's basically holding the airplane stable. And so when I go to make a turn, there's a stick priority that releases it, and so it holds it really tight. And then as you release it, it goes to a certain part or a certain point, and then holds what you have. So if with it turned way down, I got a little bit of that. Whoa! Here's the stick controllers. As I pulled back, it kind of was that whole fishiness, where it feels a little slippery. And then as I dialed it up, it just got rock solid, where it's like driving a Formula One race car. You just barely turn, and the thing just rails, goes around on rails. So I got it to where it feels exactly like my L-39.
Cool.
Almost identical.
Very cool.
It's just a little faster on a 4-cell.
Very nice.
Which is hard to believe because the L-39 flies on a 6-cell, but it's an EDF versus a prop. So I flew it around and had an audience, a couple of kids out at the park, and they were like, "Ooh, wow!" So I had to deal with the whole.
How high can you make it
what
go?
What is this?
How far can you make it go?
Yeah, how high is it? Does it go up? Does it go down?
What happens when the radio comes off? Do a loop.
Exactly.
Do a loop.
What happens when you crash it?
So anyway, what's that?
What happens
Yeah,
when
what
you
happens
crash
if you
it?
crash
Yeah,
it?
what happens when you crash? I like that one. Yeah. It crashes.
Well, they were two kids. They were probably 10 and 12 maybe or whatever. And they just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And there was another guy out there flying a glider, and so he was trying to stay out of my way. And I told him, I was like, "Well, I'm high enough that you're not gonna have to worry about me.
Zing, zing,
and fast
zing.
enough I can get out of your way."
As this thing's going 150
so
miles.
I flew through three cell batteries and got it to exactly where I wanted it, and then I jumped to the 4-cell. And I launched that thing unfreaking believable. I wasn't even at half throttle, and that thing was going so fast. I was just like, "Yeah, baby." And I turned down the park. I had to fly with the long ways of the park. I couldn't fly the short way. I had to fly the long way. And that thing was just making some noise. I mean, you could hear it whistling as it came down. It was moving. And of course, I'm using a 2200 milliamp 3-cell, a 1300 milliamp 4-cell. So these kids are like, "Yeah, come on, man. Let's see it. Wow, let's see what you can do." So I thought, yeah, let's see what I can do. So I came down about a foot above the grass and just wide open. That thing went by me so fast, and I got right to the end of the park and pitched up. And right as I pitched up, all I heard was poof. the motor quit.
Ooh, not a good sound.
Nope. And now it was not fast. I don't know why this thing has such. It's because of that 10-inch prop, Mike. I really think it is.
If it doesn't
that's
have a
probably
brake
right.
on it, it probably becomes instant speed brake.
Oh my gosh! It came to a stop. It only went up about as high as the tree. So I went from a foot off the ground or lower, just in the grass basically, to right to treetop level, and I had nothing. I mean, no power. The motor was done, and I looked at my timer, and I was at like 4 minutes, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to reset my timer for the 1300 milliamp instead of the 2300 milliamp." Because Mike and I were flying for 4 minutes, I think.
At least
4 or 5.
About 5,
Yeah, at least 4
maybe
minutes.
5 even.
Wait. So
Right.
you had a 1300 milliamp
Four
four
cell.
cell.
4-cell.
I thought you said a
Yeah.
33. I thought you said
No.
No.
2200 3-cell or 1300 4-cell.
Oh, I
Right.
thought you were saying you had a 3300.
No.
No.
Plus,
I
he's
wish.
running the 1300 full bore the whole time.
Okay,
Because that's
Right.
the
and
way
that,
he's
that's
gonna fly
that,
that thing.
and that
Yeah.
that is those Tattooey 75C.
Yes, that is exactly what they
Okay,
are.
that's why you're able to get away with that.
Yes. Right. And so they were 90Cs and, tattoo batteries. But yeah, they're only good for about 2.5 minutes at wide open throttle. So now here it is
How do you know that, Mike?
suspended. Yeah, because of this right here. It's suspended in a vertical climb tree top right at the top of the tree. And these trees aren't huge. They're not 30 feet in the air. I mean, they're not too much taller than Mike and I standing there, probably another maybe 10 feet in the air. So here it is on its vertical upline because I just pulled vertical, and I thought, oh, man. And so I pulled the power to idle and kicked the rudder and basically hammerhead the airplane to where now it's facing straight down.
Pull up, pull up, pull up.
Pretty much. But I don't want to stall and spin it. And Mike and I had this big conversation about one of his, landings that the airplane kind of got away from him. And I told him that was why, is because he got a little slow, too high in the air, and it rolled over on its back and spun into the ground. And so I didn't want to do that. So I just let it come down, and I just started increasing the back pressure, and it touched down, but it touched down one wing low and cartwheeled.
Terrain.
Yes. So on its third flight, I put a little ding in the wingtip, both wingtips. Surprisingly enough, Mike, it did nothing to the chrome spinner.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you know it? I have 2 new chrome spinners sitting in the other room because I ordered them in case something like this happened, and it didn't even crack it or do nothing. I was kind of like, oh, man. So luckily, that's how that works, right? If you didn't have those, it would have busted that thing clean off. But we know that
Although
it flies
that wasn't
without
true.
it 'cause
That
we
wasn't
flew
true
Mike
for the
on there.
props. I bought all those props and I used them all.
Yes, this is true. But it didn't break the prop, and all it did was kind of, it was so slow when it hit the ground, it just kind of went over once. And it didn't even chip the paint or anything. It just put a little wrinkle. You know how that foam kind of wrinkles.
Yeah.
But it was amazing, and I reset my timer for the second 4-cell battery, and it went much smoother, and I got it on the ground. But, yeah, that battery had 1% left.
Not good.
No.
You were not,
well,
you were
it's
not
good that
treating
the
that.
I put it into...
It's good the escape caught it and shut it down.
Yeah, that's true. But I was able to save it. I got home and put it on my charger and got it back up to normal. So
Wow.
it didn't go so far that it won't charge. It didn't charge. Because some of those batteries, if you get them down too low, they won't even recognize the charger won't even
Right.
recognize.
Or
it.
when you
So-
when you charge it all the way back up, you no longer get
Right.
100%. You may get only 98
Right.
or 97%. Okay, so when AK Mike flew, he had kind of a torquing problem in the beginning and for launching his plane and until you got that all figured
that is
out.
correct.
So did
did.
you have any of those problems or any launching problems that he had before, or did you figure out a different launching method? Because I was reading where guys were launching the thing upside down and doing some other crazy stuff, and then you guys were launching it underhand. So did you find?
Well, so when Mike was down here, I made that comment once or twice, didn't I, Mike? I said we should launch this inverted and see what happens. Mike's like, no. I'm not taking the risk, So here I stand all by myself out in the middle of the park, and I thought to myself, okay, I've flown it like 4 or 5 times. It's all set up. It's got this Demon Cortex in it, so when I launched it, on this one on a 4-cell, I had to use full rudder, by the way, Mike. I mean full rudder.
Right.
Underhand launch for that 4-cell, because the first time I did it, I only used what you and I were using, and it rolled right over. So I was like, okay, that's more rudder. So I just put full rudder in there, gave it some juice, and then just kind of tossed it. Well, when I came back for the fourth or the second flight with the 4-cell, I basically said, you know what, these guys are launching this thing upside down. I can launch it upside down. It's not that big of a deal. The Demon Cortex is already in there. It's going to stay level. I'll give it a try and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? I've already dinged the wing, when I cartwheeled it. So if it crashes, I saw what how Mike crashed his and it didn't really do anything. So I thought, well, I'll give it a try. So I rolled it upside down, grabbed the canopy portion of it, and powered up about half throttle and let it go. And it went straight as an arrow. No torque, no nothing. Because it's upside down, it's torquing the other direction.
So you didn't have to do rudder at all? It's like you just
Nope.
decided to put
no rudder at all.
hands?
Matter of fact, I literally could have spun it up to half throttle, set the radio on the ground, and launch it, and it would have tracked at a 45-degree up angle until it got out of sight.
So I think that's because of pendulum. Like the weight of all that canopy was below the wings, and it really couldn't torque itself over. Whereas if you fly it top up, all that weight, as soon as it rolls over, flops over. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you that the heavier weight, it's not a top heavy airplane, but there is weight, in that upper portion where the battery sits and everything. But I think that you're putting it below the wing as opposed to having it on top of the wing. But I think a lot of that just has to do with the way the torque is upside down. Remember, the torque is still trying to. So here's the key. People don't think about this. If you're right side up and you want to go to the left, what rudder do you push?
Left.
Anybody?
Left.
Bueller?
Left.
The left rudder. If you were upside down and you want to go to the left, what rudder do you push?
Be right.
The right rudder. So think about it that way. If you were rolling to the left in an upward launch, you have to put right rudder in there to compensate.
Right.
But now if I'm upside down, which way am I torquing? I'm
Left.
torquing to the right.
Right. Yeah. Right.
No, I'm torquing to the right. So now the upside down rudder, I would have to go left to keep it from torquing. But because it's torquing that way anyway, then that rudder automatically compensates.
Got it.
It's very strange to think about, but it's pulling to the right instead, or it's not really pulling to the right, it's pulling straight. But where it was pulling to the left really hard, now it's pulling to the right, but the airplane's heavier because all that weight's underneath it, and the rudder is opposite. So it went straight, which is very strange.
I think that's cool.
Yes, it is cool, and it was a much easier launch. And the one thing I will caution you, if you happen to purchase one, or if you're going to decide to go out and get one, or even Mike, whenever it comes time, my first launch, I grabbed too far forward on the airplane. It was literally like where the CG was, and when I launched it, as it took off, it hit me in the arm and kind of wobbled. I thought I lost it, but it actually had enough juice that it kind of recovered and went out. But it did hit me right in the forearm. So the next time I did it, you have to hold it. Yes, the tail, because it's sticking down.
Okay, yeah.
It was the whole vertical stabilizer back there. And so I realized that the better way to do it is to hold it a little further back. That way, when you release it, you're releasing your hand away from the tail. You're not tossing it, and your arm is still extending.
And then you're bumping it.
And then you hit yourself with the tail, right? So when I went back and saw the videos that Multiplex put in there, that's what those guys do. They grab it a little bit just behind the wing, and then they just let it go. And their hand drops out of the way, and the airplane just takes off.
Huh. They're not even really throwing it either. They're just sort of letting it go.
Nope. You just let it go.
That's what we did toward the end of the time. We were just
right.
When I was flying it myself, I'd put full right rudder and give it throttle enough to that I just let it go out of my hand. And it was like I barely even – it's like I throw my wing, quite frankly, except for I do it with the other hand in my wing. But since I need rudder control, I got to do it with my left hand or right hand, sorry.
Well, I think if you launched it inverted, you could do it with either – whatever you're comfortable with. You would just have to figure out how to put the throttle in. I think you could reach across, since you're on the neck strap, you reach across and put it in there. But it didn't really take any inputs other than when I was ready to roll it upright. And then when I did roll it upright, it was going so fast at that point that it just went rolled upright like nothing. So then I actually flew it for 2.5 minutes, and the thing screamed. But I will tell you another thing that I found out. I'm not really sure I'm going to have to look at the ESC on this thing, because coming downhill, when I was ripping through there and I was going to come do a low pass, I got to a speed at which when I went full throttle, it squealed on me. So I think the ESC was set a little bit low.
You got your settings are low for that.
Maybe. Yeah.
If it starts screeching.
Because they probably set it up for a 3-cell, and I was running a 4-cell. So, but I had so much fun. I went through the batteries. The kids loved it. I loved it. I personally think the paint's, looks really good, but I'm going to leave that up to our listeners to look at, and feel free to tell me don't hold back. If you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. Doesn't hurt my feelings.
So, Mike,
so what did the kids say? What did the kids say about it?
The kids, they loved it. They thought it was cool, and they thought the paint shift was cool too. They were like,
cool.
Wow, it's 2 different colors, So it was kind of neat. I thought it was going to shift a little bit better, like when it goes by you, but unfortunately, doing 100 when it goes by you really can't focus too much on the paint
on the
shift,
tail.
So yeah, I guess for an observer it might look better, but for me flying it, I'm like, okay, where's it going?
What was that? Hey, so Mike, I would recommend for
moment.
batteries instead of that 1300, the same batteries that we use for the wings. So an 1800 4-cell weighs approximately the same as a 2200 3-cell.
Yeah, I got that, but I just I didn't have any at the time, so I took those two.
But that way it'll fit in the same spot or same space. You won't have to mess with the CG any, and you'll get, maybe you'll be able to get almost 5 minutes as opposed to just
since those guys are putting 6S in there, I think I can still fly my 2 3-cell 2200s, and I'll just fly 2 of them at some point.
You're gonna fly 6-cell?
You know what? It depends on how big the 6-cell is.
Yeah.
Are they flying?
I
Because
think
they sell.
I think it'll fit. I was looking at it.
They sell a 1,000 milliamp 6-cell.
Oh, really? No, I was. I don't know what those guys are using size-wise for a 6-cell. It might be too heavy with 2200s
I think they're
like that.
Yeah, because I'm saying the 1,000 milliamp 6-cell is not that big. It's fat, but it's not. It doesn't weigh a whole lot because it's for a quad.
But that motor in ESC would probably burn up with the 6-cell.
Well,
so
no,
probably.
You just have to use like a 5-inch prop.
Oh. Yeah.
True. You would have to downsize your prop, but the ESC is for a 2-cell all the way to a 6-cell, so you just have to probably change the settings in that. It's the motor that I would have to worry about.
Right. But he may be able to use
KV
it. But like I said,
at.
you may have to go down to a 5x5, a 4x4.
True.
Yeah.
It barely sticks out. You just see these 2 nubs on either side
basically,
of the
2
spinner.
little nubs.
Would it actually push any air past the airframe?
Exactly.
Well, maybe
You'd be
you
better off
may
with
not
an
be getting that
EDF.
much airflow, but it may take you a long while to wind up. But once you get there, holy crap, you're just
Put a
Yeah,
tripod
still
on
moving.
that thing. It would probably look cool that way too.
Yeah, that's too funny.
So,
Well, I will tell you that it's a lot of fun. So having flown Mike's and having flown mine now, I unfortunately can't wait to get out, and do it again. It was too much fun. Although I had to be really cautious because the guys were trying to convince me to bring it out to the field, not the park, but the actual flying field with the new runway.
the new
I'm like,
runway
I don't
and
wanna mess
plenty
up
of
my paint
gravel,
job.
nice soft gravel.
Yes, I don't want to mess up my paint. And they're like, oh, just put some tape on the bottom of it. I'm like, okay, I'm not. This thing is really nice. I don't want to, start putting tape all over it.
Well, I mean, they can
mess
get
it all
one.
up again.
They can probably afford to get one themselves.
That's what I told them. I
Yeah.
said, knock yourself out. Although I did find out that Motion has their new F-18, so Barry pre-ordered one of those. No fun racer for him now, I guess.
Well, speaking of which,
Anyway.
you've been doing most of the flying of the all 3 of us. I mean, you've been doing the bulk of the flying. So
That's
what
true.
else? What else you've been flying the past week since Mike went home and you've been sitting there on your lonesome board? So I've been getting these cryptic emails or texts from you. So
yeah, I got the Katana back up and flying.
oh, that's right. You had
unfortunately-
the spar was kind of wonky, right?
I bent the aluminum wing spar. That is correct.
Okay.
I sure did. So actually, when Mike was here during the electric festival we've been at, and so I ordered a carbon fiber one. That one came in. Had to do a little trimming to it to get it to fit in the wings, but I got it to fit. It's very stiff. The wings are so much better. They're not flexing or doing any of that stuff. And then
hopefully it's not
I had to
flexing
figure out
like
a way.
the ASW 28 there. Is it flexing like that? Wang-a, 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 wang-a.
Yeah, no, it's not flexing like those. But yeah, so I flown that, and I got that all worked out. We've been flying the A10 a lot, and because Spencer got his all set up. So now he and I have been flying formation stuff with the A10s, going out there and trying that. We've been flying the L39 because he finally got his painted, and I think I posted some photos of the L39s in their different paint schemes on our Facebook page. And then what else? It's really about it, I think.
So
let's see.
This might be a little early. I'm gonna go backwards a little bit. This might be a little early to say. But I think we should have like a fun racer sortie at the Fun Electric Festival next year.
That'd be a good idea if everybody has one. We could do that. They call it a gaggle or whatever, but yeah, it'd be kind of fun to go out there.
But I think it would be cool to have the different paint schemes out there and just flying around and try to stay in formation as best we can and fly around.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great fun.
It's harder than it looks.
Oh no, I understand that, but if you have the gyros help, you don't get too crazy, but it's the whole depth perception issue that's really the problem.
Yeah. I will tell you that during one of my A10 flights with Spencer, we had it actually wound up being lucky for us. And sometimes, it's better to be lucky than good. Yep. We were trying, I'm still trying to get this depth perception for this formation. He and Barry seem to be able to have worked it out, but with the L39s, bumping and scraping until they finally got it. But the A10s, they're bigger, and we fly them in a little bit closer and a little bit lower, and so he and I were coming around, and he goes, all right, you take the inside closest to us, and I go, well, no, let me take the outside. He goes, okay, I'll take the inside. So he took the line closest to us, and I took the line out, and I guess we lined, it's really hard when you're looking at the nose of the airplane to see where it is in relation to the other airplane, but we called out throttle settings to each other, and he's finally like, okay, half throttle here, quarter throttle here, 3/4 throttles here. And when we met at the end of the runway, we were wingtip to wingtip, and he rolled inverted. So we did basically a pass, and unfortunately it wasn't on video. I was really kind of, both
of course
like,
not.
oh man, nobody was there. But it was the coolest pass because I was about 10 feet above the runway upright, and he was 10 feet above the runway inverted, but we were literally flying wingtip to wingtip. So it was really cool. And of course, once it goes by you can actually see it better. So now, we didn't run into each other, but it was a really neat display. We thought that was really cool that we got that one pass. That was really neat. Then I couldn't get back on his wing to save my life. It was just like, oh my gosh. So it's interesting, kind of fun to do, but it's difficult.
Well, on the listeners group, you guys had tried to do. You did a takeoff together. You took off together. You were flying around okay, and then you're coming in for everybody's timer started beeping, and you were lining up. Everybody's coming in perfect for for a landing together. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be really cool. These guys can land together. That'll be awesome. And right before the the landing, everything goes awry. So why don't you pick up from there? What happened there?
That was just a perception issue. We've actually done it several times before, and we don't really land like all three together, but it's usually like one and the next one and the next one. But you have to be able to hold your line. Spencer will take the inside or outside, Barry will take one line, and then I'll take the center. Or whatever.
I think it was just the two of you. It wasn't the L39s, it was the A10s, and you guys were coming in for
Oh,
landing,
right. Yeah, so that was a perception.
Because I know it was you who was the guy
and
who
we
was
had a
the
wind.
guy, would have got written up. But
I did. Yeah, I wouldn't have got written up because I went around. So you shouldn't get written up for going around and doing it again. When we came in, I'm used to coming around and being the inside guy closest to us, and Spencer took that line. So I slid back out, and when I slid too far out. So when I started my flare, I realized I'm not on the runway anymore. I'm actually past the runway. So I was like, oh man, and there was enough wind that as I tried to rudder over, it just wasn't coming fast enough. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go around and do it again. So I basically escorted him to the ground, and then I went around and came in a little behind him. So,
Which was unfortunate because I mean, the line, as you guys were coming, at the base and everything, it looked really good, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be really awesome. And then,
we've done it before, and it worked out great. But normally when we do those, the wind isn't 90 degrees at 20 knots either. I mean, it's very difficult to fly down that runway with a huge crosswind like that.
Yeah, coordinated crosswind landing.
It's difficult enough to get it, on the ground on your own, but to have somebody right next to you.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
hard to hold your
since
line.
that's the only bad part about your field, or being in Arizona,
Yeah.
to my degree, is that like up in Alaska, if you didn't land on the runway, well, there was a nice grass runway there, or like where we're down in San Antonio, they have a nice grass, either side of the runway. That particular plane can easily land on the grass, and you don't have. It's no easy nothing. It's
Well, actually, with the new runway, they did smooth all that out. I mean,
unless they put
I
sand
could
there.
land on
I
the
mean,
other side.
it was
No,
the
it's still
equivalent of
gravel,
60
but I
grit
mean, they
sandpaper.
leveled the gravel out. So, I mean, it's hard packed, and the problem is that it's only at the edge of the runway. If you veer off any further than that, you're going to run into all. It was raining when they were doing it, so they smoothed out that part, but all the trucks and everything were on the other side of it, so there's plenty of ruts and stuff that are
nice
just
soft
landing
ruts.
gear eaters. Just ask Barry about that.
Yeah, I think he left
He
it.
off-roaded a couple of his
Yeah,
airplanes.
he left a couple of
last week.
landing gear there for
Landing gear
ripped
stuff,
little tombstones out there for landing gear for
Yeah,
Barry's planes.
exactly. Which is funny, but yeah, it was fun, and we had a good time doing it. So now I'm excited to go out and do it again. Unfortunately, I'm busy with work at the moment, but when I get back and get a little time for myself, and I'll head back out there and do it.
Well, dude,
with my new project.
You have had basically a month off of flying. This is the most flying I've seen you do in a long, long time. Just the way the schedule's
say
worked
that
out. You've been flying for a basic month and a month and a week, month and 2 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah, probably more in the last 2 months than I have probably in a long time.
I will say in a
but
long
yeah.
time. This is which I'm glad.
Well, because Mike was here for a little over a week, right?
Yep.
So I flew every day with him, and then when he left, the guys came in. They had 3 or 4 days off. So,
and then before that,
I had taken some time off of work.
Yep. I mean, it's great that it all worked out, but just your schedule with with the real flying, because sometimes you're tutoring guys. It seems like that kind of fell off, or just the timing was right. So it seemed like every day you were like, you're sending me texts. Hey, out at the field. Hey, I'm out at the field. Hey, I'm out. I'm like, jeez.
Right, I was. Yeah, I was trying to motivate you to get
nice.
off the field yourself. Well, I just lucked out, and so the last couple of days or so, I haven't been out to the field, but the other guys have. But yeah, it's kind of nice, and it helps your skill level, and it also helps you spend your hard-earned cash, because while you're out there, you see really cool things, and then you decide, you know what, I want one of those. So I'll leave that for the next podcast, because my new project is coming in, and I hopefully will have it done by then. But I could probably give you a sneak peek if you want.
Well, give us at least a little hint.
I'm building a battery charger.
Oh,
case.
that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so.
like I said, we both have little projects, because, like I said, I'm working on my little 5x8 little miniature trailer. So the first thing for mine, I had to get a hitch for my little Ford Fiesta. Woohoo!
Yeah, something to pull
That's
it with.
right. And they actually, the little hitch that you can buy from I think who'd I get? Draw Tight. Yeah, I got mine from Draw Tight. It's ingenious the way they had that thing to put the hitch on. It was the easiest hitch I've ever put on any vehicle I've ever owned.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I think I got mine from somewhere close. I think we have the same brand name. It's a Kurt hitch.
There's the Kurt, and then there's Draw Tight, and the one I got was a Draw Tight.
Okay.
Kurt makes one too
Yeah,
for
Kurt.
that particular model, but I liked it because it had 500 more pounds on it that I could haul.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't think
You
I'm
sure
gonna
the axle on that thing could
Yeah,
handle
I was gonna say the hitch may be able to carry it, but your car.
my car's gonna be sparking. Well, yeah, it can handle
gonna be
all. It can
riding
handle it
low.
all. honestly, because of what I'm going to be hauling, I'll probably never be near unless my wife goes, "Hey, we got to take something to the girls," and then I'll be packing it full of boxes. That will be different because they'll be full of like the lead collection and the marble collection that the kids had.
Your
Then
weight
will be I'll have to get out there and check it. But hauling my airplanes, it was just kind of like when I brought them down here. There's huge boxes. My wife goes to pick one up. You can see her like she's bending her legs and bending her knees and everything. Not gonna hurt herself. And then she goes to
ready
pick
to do
it
a
up.
power lift.
Yeah, and then she slams it into the ceiling. All of a sudden I hear the boom, or the chandelier go crackle, crackle, and I turn around. And I go, "What did you do?" And she goes, "Well, I went to pick the box up because I thought it was heavy."
Right. Because it's big.
Yeah, because it was so big and it just had a plane in it, so it weighed like 2
When
pounds.
I came over to help Jay move a little bit, I was sure to be there when they were loading the planes. I got these planes. You guys get down
Yeah.
the stuff there.
Yeah,
I'll take care of
exactly.
the
I don't
planes.
want to hurt
2 or
myself.
3 on the shoulder. Wow, look at me.
These boxes are huge.
Yeah, well, they're deceiving because my wife had those little small. Since she is into this Stampin' Up stuff, she would have these little bitty boxes.
Yeah,
and you would
box full of stuff.
You would
It's
quite
like,
literally
Damn, what
just
is this, a
give
brick?
yourself a hernia. You go to you wouldn't bend your knees or nothing. You just reach down and then something would drop on the floor and you go, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, because paper weighs like 10 pounds per sheet or something.
Between the paper and then the little cutters and stuff that she has.
Right,
Oh,
yeah, 'cause
my
they're all metal.
goodness. It was incredible because she was freaking out because all those big boxes were on the top, and she's like, "Why are you putting all those big boxes up there?" What's that, Mike?
The cards she makes with those are very lovely.
Yes, they're lovely.
They're fabulous.
Yes, I have to say that myself. I'm very impressed with her skill level on those cards.
Yeah.
I know she's a listener, so Becky, you're doing a great job.
Thanks for helping butter that up, but
Yep. Hopefully that'll work when you get your next airplane.
Yeah,
You
hopefully,
just be
hopefully. We'll
remember
see.
all the guys were talking about how good those cards were?
Yeah, they said, I should get you a ream of paper. Throw it over there with
Becky,
the
I'm not
others.
saying that just to suck up. That's a true statement.
If you want to suck
that
up,
is
Mike,
a true
just come on
statement.
over and fix something, and then you're in. You're golden.
Yeah, that's how I do
You're
it.
golden.
I go there,
Fix
the
a doorknob,
doorknobs or
something
the
that's fallen
toilets
off,
or whatever.
and you'll be right in.
Yeah.
I made a
So,
swing at
about
that
once
fan,
every
but
couple of months.
But that was a losing proposition.
It was. I
think.
replaced it, by the way. So
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had to buy a new
well.
one.
Well, because I gave it a swing,
Yeah.
too. I actually got it to stop ticking, but I think
it,
he had
it gave
already
up the ghost. That
bought
it
the,
was.
yeah, I think he had already bought the fan, and it was on its way
Yeah.
or something. But
So anyway, geez, guys, our hour's up.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Just get started and the hour's up
It
again.
is. It is.
But the good news is we got lots of stuff going on.
We
You know,
do.
I mean, this
We do.
this battery case that I'm building is very similar to Spencer's, and it'll be a good project. We'll throw that up there too. I've been doing a lot of flying. I'm still waiting on my turbine to come back from the King Tech. So when that gets here, we can talk about the F-15 and the maiden flights on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
I
my.
have one
Mike's
thing to
got,
add. I have one thing to add.
What's that?
So
What's
a
that?
couple of podcasts ago, someone made kind of an indirect comment that I wasn't a man because I didn't have an air compressor.
I
But
did say that. Didn't
but I wanted to let you guys know that in fact I do have an air compressor. I was,
Oh, there you
I
go.
was looking around the garage and there it was. I was like, I'm a man. And so no, I got an air
Well,
compressor.
congratulations.
So
You
the reason
joined
why I
the
brought
man's
that up
club.
though at all is because I'm working on this turbojet, and I know I've been talking about this thing a while. It's been on my plate to fix. It's a little bit more difficult than it should be because I'm new at it. I don't want to
Right.
break it, but I'm gonna probably get some painting gear, and now that I found that compressor, and paint that myself.
Oh, this will
Very
be
nice.
good.
Yeah, this will be
This will
good.
be very
It'll
good.
be like red or something.
You can.
Well,
you can put other
can
colors.
still paint
other
with
than
rattle
red.
cans.
Just,
Yeah,
maybe
I know, of
black,
course, right?
Or
It's either white or red.
2 or 3. So
The
yeah.
windows will be black. The whole plane will be red. That's it.
Well, you don't have to buy any paint gear. You just get a rattle can for that. If you're going to paint it all one color, so.
No, I'll
But we
probably
can
I'll
talk
try to do
about that.
something.
So
I'll try to do something. Maybe I was thinking about maybe doing like a Southwest coloring or something like that, or American Airlines or
oh,
something.
that's
Cool.
kind of cool. Yeah, there you go. I could probably hook you up with some of that stuff,
Cool.
pictures and stuff.
Actually,
pictures.
Mike, I have an extra set that Mike had sent me for Christmas because he didn't think I had any air compressor stuff. So I may have a little beginner
Extra
kit
set?
for you. Yeah.
Of paint gear?
No. Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool. Okay, great.
There you go.
I'd
We can
open
figure
that.
something out.
I knew you
Cool.
would be.
Yeah, good. Great.
Did I send you a like a filter or something? Or
Yeah, he sent me like a filter, an actual airbrush, couple of
Yeah, probably so.
things. It was just a beginner kit, He
Right,
didn't realize that
right.
I already had all that stuff. So, what happens with all the thousands of things that we both have,
I know, right? And we're constantly passing stuff back and forth.
There you go.
Now we got Mike on the train.
Woo woo.
Because when that big box showed up, she goes, "What did you order?" I didn't order anything.
It says
I love that
Mike
Mike sent
on
it to
it
me.
right here.
Alaska Mike sent it to me. It's his name is on it. She goes, "Oh, did he crash his and he got a new one?" I go, "Yep." So now it's in my hobby room, and she goes, "Are you sending this to him?" I go, "No, he's just going to fight when he comes out."
There you
That's
go.
awesome.
But I think she figured it out.
Yeah,
She figured out it was mine. So,
that's awesome.
well, anyway, man, once again we are out of time, but man, it's been fun talking about some of this. Let us know your comments on the Park Flyer Podcast listeners group page. We are excited to hear your thoughts on both Mike's airplane and mine, and let us know what you'd do different, and or what you think of it. So then we'll have to get something with Jay's up there so he can get comments too.
Critiqued.
Don't want to leave you out there.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, bud.
So. Well, anything in the near future for you guys? I'm probably going to be at the field again next week, but or at least in the coming days. What about you, Mike?
I'm gonna continue working on that turbojet. I'm determined to get it put together.
Now, and it's EDF technically, right? It's not a
Yep.
actual turbine jet. It's
No, it's
and it's
two
an 80
EDFs.
millimeter.
Yes, 2 EDFs runs off.
Oh,
of
2
2200.
EDFs. Okay.
Yep, it was a lot like the
Gotcha.
HN I made actually. In fact, since I have two sets of cells, engine cells, I may go
Mhm.
back to rebuilding my A10 and use those 2 engine cells, and put that together. Do another scratch build of an A10. Make another A10
there
bus.
You go. Are you talking
A10
about the
bus, I like
little area that goes around the motor?
Yeah, the nacelles, I guess you call them or something.
Nacelles. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Nacelles. Okay. Just asking. I
Yep.
just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Well, love to hear about an A10 build. That'd be kind of cool. Jay, what about you? You gonna go to the field, mow it?
I'm going to
do
go to the
anything?
field,
You
get
getting
it
out of the house
mowed.
at all?
I just been stuck doing the field around my house. But I want to get that mowed because I think the next project I'm going to start is probably my gasser, my first gasser.
Oh, good.
So-
Yeah.
So
Moving
we're
up.
moving up. Jim's going to help me. It's a plane that Jim owned, so he can help me put it together and give me some advice. So I look
That's the
forward to
same one that we flew and
those
he
the-
turned the motor
yep.
off on.
that. It is.
Okay. All righty. Acromaster, Acromaster.
Acromaster, I think.
Aeromaster.
Giant. I think it's the Giant Acromaster.
The giant Aeromaster. I
Aeromaster.
think it's an Aeromaster. Something like
Something
that.
like
anyway,
that. Yeah.
it's a great planes, I believe,
Aero-
or something.
Something master.
Yeah.
It's big.
Well, we're excited to hear about it. Yeah, excited. Yeah. Well, I guess if we don't have anything else, thanks for listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona.
I'm Jay from the hills of Texas.
And this is AK Mike in Texas.
We hope you have a great week. Let us know what you're doing, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.